Welcome back to Get With The Programming. I'm Chase Ingram.
I'm Captain America.
And along with me is Bill Grunler. Oh.
Wolverine.
I hit it and then I stopped.
You're old, dude. That's what happened. You're fucking old now.
I am not old yet. You wait one more fucking day before you call me that. I don't know if you saw that, but I totally headbanged into the microphone. And
you did that and hit the button at the same time?
Yeah, I double tapped your thing. I was like, I didn't tap it, and then I did tap it, and I'm like, oh, it's too
Hey, so how long have we known each other now?
Ooh.
15 years? 12 years?
Oh, not that long. We've known of each other for 15, 12. 12? 12.
Oh, 12 years. Okay, so your first year of doing broadcast was when?
Ooh, 12.
Okay, so 12 years.
Yeah.
So when I met you, I was 41.
And
you were 28? 28?
28, almost 30.
God, you're just a wee baby.
Yeah, wee baby. Speaking of babies.
Baby. Cdang it. Look at that baby.
You look like a giant baby. Mr. Cotler is joining the show today because it is all about underdogs. We're talking about some team programming coming up for Wodapalooza, but sir, we tried to connect, I believe it was a week ago, and this is what happens when we don't fully bring in the duo for this. And the podcast gods were like, F that noise. We're just gonna that the internet hamster died in your house, and then a power drill was in my office, and we just like, you know what? Let's just apologize to Bill, and then we'll get him back on the show. And now here we are.
It was a comedy of errors. So yeah, we needed you, Bill. We need you.
I'm here. I'm here. Yeah. I like to play with it. I get FOMO anyway, so it's not cool if I can't come play with you guys. I want to come and hang out.
So much better with you.
Great.
So the barbell spin.
Yeah, tell you what, like you guys have just like I know you've been around, but like just in the last few weeks, you guys just exploded on the scene.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah.
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 Like
I like it. It's good.
From nowhere to nonstop everywhere.
That Brian number 2? Is that who that is? Yeah, I am everywhere. That's awesome. Everywhere. Yeah, we missed you guys too. Thanks for Justin. Thanks for your time today. Just to catch up, man. It's we had team qualifiers for Wodapalooza go down. Did I freeze?
Yeah.
Oh no, you're back. Okay.
Oh, Justin was he was intentful. Like that guy's focused. Yeah, don't mess with us now. And
please.
Please God. The Wodapalooza team qualifiers went down. I got a crop of teams heading to there in Miami. But between then and now, we've had the Rogue Invitational. We had some time to digest. Ricky was there. And then who else was there? Well, it was nice to see Carrie in the legend.
Carrie and Tommy were doing the legends. So that was exciting.
Right. That was really cool. Tommy.
Tommy.
The whole time he's just like, I don't know why I'm here.
I know. Tommy's like, I'll tell you what though. So last year, Tommy got his ass handed to him. So this year, he was low key training for this. Like if you notice, like this year, he was a lot better out there. But what I think is hilarious is so he brought his son, and I think like the last day he was playing basketball with his son, and he was really pissed off because he was jumping and he wasn't able to touch the rim. So he kept like jumping and jumping jumping and jumping and jumping. And he pulled his hamstring. So
no. God.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Getting old sucks.
No doubt. Oh, dude. Fuck.
Oh man. Okay. Yeah. But like that group, the whole Legends, I as a fan of what we do and like being a purist and the OG thing and all that, like I love seeing all of those names come back out. I love seeing that. But then at the same time, as an older athlete myself, like I don't train like when I used to train super, super hard like that to get ready for whatever. And all of them, there's not one of those athletes out there, any of them, they all know what they're supposed to do. And life doesn't always lend itself to do that. Like you get out on the floor and you are like the worst Masters athlete of all time because you have all the skill, all the knowledge, maybe not the capacity that you used to have or the training foundation anymore, but you're like, you know what, fuck it, we're going to break it.
Right.
Right now. I don't care.
Right.
That's it. I mean, I love guys. It's so cool.
What I think that is like, you know, before I would like bang myself up training to try to be a games athlete. And then as I get older, I injure myself while competing as a not games athlete. That usually happen. But before we get to Wodapalooza, I mean, you know, had Ricky out there. You know, we talked about is like as far as his performance went, a lot of up and down. Obviously, things kicked off pretty well, but you know, from your end, you know, Ricky's coming off an incredible season that I could only imagine as the physical toll, but emotional toll that whole season took with the weight of 4 extra years of anticipation onto that. Is that, you know, what was that like coming off of the games, trying to recover and get ready for Rogue with you and Ricky?
Yeah, listen, this past season was incredible for him, obviously. You know, it's an incredible story. I think that this competition that Rogue, first and foremost, it was more destructive than it's been in the past. I think if you spoke like to all of the athletes, they were beat the fuck up. Like it was, you know, to a man back there, everyone was like, holy shit, you know. They were beat up. And Ricky, I think, was surprised at how beat up he was, especially after those first 2 days. But I'll be honest with you, man. I think it was probably pretty good for him in the sense that I think Ricky coming off the games felt like, okay, I'm going to be able to show up at a competition and I'm coming in. I'm on the podium. I'm coming on the podium. Like, it doesn't matter what shows up, doesn't matter the program, doesn't matter who's there. Like, and not that he was taking everybody else lightly. It wasn't that. I just think it was a great reminder that the top 10, and I would say there's probably like 10 guys at this point, and we saw it this weekend. There's probably 10 guys, depending on the program, and depending that can finish anywhere from 1 to 10 on most given weekends. And I think for him, it was a good reminder that, hey, first of all, if I don't perform, if I don't have my A game and I don't perform at a high level every single event, these guys are going to step on my neck. Like there's no doubt that like they'll beat your ass. And like, you know, it's not one of those things where it's like, oh shit, I can just show up and you know, no, it's, you know, you've got to make sure that like when you're there, you've got to perform. You got to have your A game. You got to feel good. You can't leave points out there, all those things. And I think it was up and down for him. I think there were some events that programming wise were a challenge. Like there's no doubt that that back squat workout for him is that's a tough workout. He just doesn't have, that was 93% of his 1 rep max. And he did it unbroken. When we were done, we were like, well, that was a win. Like that's the best you could have done. And it was an 18th, you know what I mean? Like that's just the way it's going to be, you know? But then you take a workout like the elimination workout where normally, like to me, I look at that workout, I'm like, oh, it's a top 5. Legos, rope climb, overhead squats, sandbag carry. He's great at all those. And what did he do? Tried to go too fast on the sandbag, fell, and that was it.
Oh,
he was out.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Right? And that's a top 5 workout for him. So you leave now, because of the points, you leave 60 points on the field. 60 points is now 5 spots. It's your difference between finishing 10th and finishing 5th. You know what I mean? Like it just was one of those things for him. And then there were a couple more out there that were the same thing. So we look at it, and honestly, I think it's going to light a fire under his ass, because I think both of us look at the result and we're like, we never want to finish 10th in a competition. Like, I don't care what it is. Now, you may say like, you know, 10th, top 10 in the world, that's great. But Ricky looks at it like, fuck that. I want to win. You know what I mean? 10th is like, hell no. So I think it'll be a great catalyst for him. I think it'll light a fire under his ass. And I think it also, what it did for me, which was great, was Ricky in his mind thought he was going to do Rogue. Then he was going to go home and do a team down under championship. Then he was going to go to Dubai and do Dubai individual. Then he was going to come to the States and do Wodapalooza individual and team. And I said to him, listen, you just got done with the games, and I guarantee you're not fully recovered from the games. And look what happened. Look how fucked up you were coming to the States, and then Rogue. Now you're going to go home to Australia, and then a month later turn around and go to Dubai, and then a month later come to the States. No, you're not. You're not doing that. So we pulled him out of Rogue. I mean, excuse me, we pulled him out of Dubai.
Yeah, I just saw that.
Hey,
just saw that.
Yeah, no, and I was like, listen, man, I know you want to make up for time lost, but that's not the way to do it. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to run yourself into the ground by January, and then you're going to have to spend 3 or 4 months recovering, when what we should be doing is ramping up and getting you ready for the games. When you come over for Wodapalooza, he's going to stay in the States for about 5 months, come to Vegas, train with the crew. And so I just think taking Dubai out makes a ton of sense. And I know that the fans in Dubai will be disappointed. And I know Ricky really wanted to do it because Dubai stuck by him and they were his first invitation after. Sure. And I understand that, but make me the bad guy. You know what I mean? Because I was like, Ricky, this is a mistake. Like, I think this is a mistake. And I think after Rogue, where he was so fatigued coming to the States, you know, he tweaked his back when he got here and had to take 4 or 5 days off. And he just didn't have his normal full volume going into an event. And he was crushed after Rogue. I think it was a great, like, it was just really good for him to see that, hey, like, in my mind, this sounds good, but in practical terms and actuality, this is not a great idea. So, you know, we talked him out of that, and I think it'll set him up now to have a very successful season. And I can't wait to have him in Vegas. He's so great to be around. Like, the camp just loves him. But I also think, like, you know, having, you know, Matt and Alex and you know, these other monsters to go up against every day is just going to be so good for him to be around for the season. So
hey, Justin,
that's going to be awesome.
I got to ask, I mean, obviously him coming into the game this year, there was the whole game season, there was all the hype. Is he going to be able to perform after all the 4 years, all this buildup? And you as a coach are obviously going to be building him to peak at the games. All of these off-season events, I mean, in reality, none of these off-season events, unless you have no shot at the games and, like, you're trying to do this part just for money, you're not peaking. Nobody is peaking for any of these. So how do you, as a coach, work with someone like Ricky, who I am sure he is still, like, I think the downside for him, even though, okay, he's made it in, people were going to say what they're going to say, he got himself on the podium, he proved to everyone, hey, I'm supposed to be here, I'm back. I'm clean. I'm back. I've been tested. I've been this. I've been that. How do you get him to not feel the need to have to prove himself, to, like, perform, but not prove himself, especially in a situation like this where it is, I mean, you know, we saw Mal O'Brien didn't go to the game to Rogue either, because it's like, what's the purpose of the season? What are we trying to do? Are you one of the athletes just trying to get some money so you can kind of continue for the season? Or are you trying to use this as training to peak for the games or the season that you're looking at? I mean, it's a tough situation, because all of these are big draw events. Rogue is a big draw event. Dubai is a big draw event. Wodapalooza, obviously, nobody doesn't want to not go to those. You want to test yourself, but you don't want to break yourself. So how do you get a guy like Ricky, who's the guy who is constantly needing to prove himself, to not worry about proving himself? How do you do that?
That's such a great question. And I think that the element that you brought up too, which I think is, you know, listen, this is a professional sport. They're professionals. They, you know, you turn down some of these events, you're turning down the potential to make big money. You know, and let's be honest, Ricky coming back after 5 years, you know, we're very grateful and thankful for the sponsors he has, but he's not one of the most sponsored athletes out there, right? Like, there were a lot of sponsors that were waiting to see how he did. You know, they weren't jumping on board. And, you know, you've got some athletes out there that are making considerably more money from sponsorship than they're doing from the actual event earnings.
He doesn't put enough butt pictures on his Instagram. That's why. It's not enough ass shots.
That's true too. Yes.
Come on, you're supposed to help him out with that stuff, you know?
I will try. I'll make sure I talk to Snorri. We'll put a whole plan together, more ass shots.
Photo shoot time.
Yeah. But you know, for Ricky too, it's balancing, like, okay, I want to give myself the opportunity to make money, but, like, what do I really want? What's my end goal here? And I think if you asked him, the number 1, 2, and 3 on the list is winning the CrossFit Games, right? Like Rogue is an exhibition. That's a lot of fun. Go have fun. And, Wodapalooza, it's an exhibition. Like, it's great to go and you want to do well. But at the end of the day, our entire season for him right now is geared towards feet fix. Wow. Okay.
It's a category.
Hey, it's our entire season is geared towards peaking right at the games. And so ultimately, like, everything that we're doing, I think they're good barometers, right? Like, you can say, hey, let's go do this competition. And if you get your ass handed to you in one or two events, it's great to say, okay, add that to the list. What do we do? How do we tweak our programming a little bit? Because there are some things that I saw at Rogue that for me, I was like, okay, like, we've got to focus a little more on this. Let's be honest. Okay. Ricky is a flawed athlete. I love him to death, but Ricky has some deficiencies of movement that some of the other top athletes may not necessarily have. And I think a lot of that just has to do with his rugby background. The fact that he's, the way he's built, there are certain things that he's not necessarily as good at as some of the other athletes. But what Ricky has in spades is grit. And let's be honest, when Ricky's at his best, he may have the best engine in the sport, which reminds us of some of the athletes we've seen over in the past that maybe their movements weren't as pristine as others, but you take a Sam Briggs and you say, okay, no one's going to out-grit her and no one's going to out-engine her. And when I look at Ricky and I look at a running event or I look at the second to last event with the muscle-up event, those are events that I say to myself, okay, we're going to win that. We're going to win that. And we came in third and we came in fifth. And I say, okay, well, people will say, oh, third and fifth is great. Yes, it's great, but not when you say, okay, like, I'm assuming I'm winning that event. So that if I come in 10th in something else, I've made up the points there. Like, there are certain things that I look at and say, okay, when we come into an event, we've got to make sure that you are the fittest person there as far as your engine is concerned. And then there'll be some other things that obviously there's going to be some damage control there, and that's fine. Like, in a 17 event competition at like the games, you can have that and still win. There's no doubt about that. But, I think without question, the best part of it, Bill, for me is like, it's a great barometer for us to take some things and learn, but really it's to apply it to the season so that then we can peak where we want to peak, which for Ricky is the CrossFit Games, without question. And that's why we pulled him out of Rogue, because if it was just about making money and it was just about, like, going to a competition here, let's make money here. We can go to competition and make 20K here. Let's make 20K here, 100K here. Well, then we would put him in events all throughout the season, and then we wouldn't prioritize the games. But I know for Ricky, he's playing the long game. I mean, this is about creating a legacy. Like, this is about, like, what do you want from your career? And to me, like, yes, people will remember that you podiumed at Dubai, but not compared to the CrossFit Games. You rack up a couple of those, and now we're talking about, top 10 in the history of the sport, which I know for him, like, he feels like he's got the goods to be that, and he's missed out on 4 years of that. So now, let's make sure that when we go and we show up in Madison or ultimately in Birmingham, that we're making sure that we're doing our damage there. And I think without question, that's where we're looking towards.
Nice.
Well, and so speaking of looking towards, right, we're here to talk about, partly of what the season's been like for you, especially the off season with a lot of your athletes and, your stock of athletes. We have a lot more coming, and specifically towards Wodapalooza. And what you see at Wodapalooza a lot with a lot of individual athletes is they love going team at Wodapalooza, the 3-man, 3-woman teams. And this year, the format is even a bit different because athletes actually have an option for both coming in. And when you talk about managing the season and what maybe is best for which athlete, how do you look at, because I'm sure some of them, like any of them, is like, well, if I can do both, I want to do both. Or do you have to, reel in some, push for the others? How do you manage your crew going into, say, this new format for Wodapalooza between the team and individual?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. And, it is cool this year. I think, a lot of the top athletes are stoked about the opportunity to be able to compete individually and compete team. I think the way that Wodapalooza set it up this year is nice in the sense that you've only got 2 days for, the individual competition, 2 days for teams. So it does make it possible, right? I mean, these guys are used to, let's say most of the time, maybe a 3-day competition, but it's not out of the realm that they've done 4-day comps. So having that 4 days and saying, okay, I'm going to do 2 days Indy, 2 days team, it makes it possible. The volume is not insane. So I think it's cool for them. And really what we do, at Underdogs is we'll take it case by case basis. And we'll say to ourselves, okay, what are we trying to do here, right? Like take an athlete like Alex, right? Alex Kazan. She made the games for the first time this past year as an individual. She's a young athlete. She's 21 years old, right? And I looked at, we looked at a couple things for her as to, what do we want to do here? Well, she's going to be, she decided I really want to be able to train through. I don't want to have to worry too much about tapering. I don't want to have to worry too much about the stress of individual. I'm really trying to continue, to build my trajectory as an athlete. So she decided she's just going team, right? She's just going to go team. She's going to be on a team with Carrie Pierce and Ariel Lowen, which is obviously a phenomenal team.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
So
okay.
So
That's
going to be a stacked, that's a stacked squad. And, it gives her the opportunity to compete with 2 other incredible individual competitors, get experience under her belt, but also look at it like, hey, it's Miami in January. It's a fun weekend. It's going to be, less stress for her, which I think right now is fantastic. That's Jules. It is a team. So for us, that's where we looked at with her. For somebody like Ricky, Ricky, the way that Ricky looks at it is, hey, like I want to try. Now, Rogue to me was more of an exhibition. That was one where we weren't really worried about peaking. It was one where going down and kind of having some fun. Wodapalooza for him, I think is 2-tiered in the sense that, that no pun intended, because I was going to say tier is his big sponsor. And so for him, it's a wonderful opportunity for him with his big sponsor to be able to go down, compete in a competition that they're the title sponsor of. And for him now to be able to go down, try to win it individually, try to win on a team, because now he's going to be on a team with Tim Paulson and Matt DeLugos. So now they got
full send, or like what? What's the team name going to be?
That's hilarious, because I think actually that is in the running. That's one of the ones.
Send it to end it. I don't know what else, but man, a bunch of dudes who are like, hey, it's a bike race to the finish, and I'm like, done. I don't need to be tired.
Right. Just give it to those guys.
Yeah. Crazy. Exactly. So those guys, and so for Ricky, I know like he really wanted to say, hey, okay, like prior to the season or right at the beginning of the season, let's do an individual comp. Let's try to win it. And then from there, next big competition for Ricky will obviously be semifinals, right? So we'll have that block where we can go really, really big and train. And, what I love about Ricky and really most of the athletes that we have is there's so much growth that can continue to happen. They haven't maxed out their potential. So it's exciting for me as a coach to be able to kind of dig in and say, okay, you use the competitions as a barometer. You use them to be able to say, okay, these are things that we do really well. These are things that we need to improve on. And that's one of the things, is like you train, you compete, you assess, you train, and you improve, right? Those are the big things. And so that's kind of what we're going to be able to take from it. And I'm super stoked about the opportunity. And we have, more athletes that'll be down there. And I know a lot of the camps, like Wodapalooza, is so much fun. It's a festival, and it's a great opportunity to be able to compete, but also to have fun with your friends and a lot of friendly competition between the camps as well. It's going to be a blast, man. I can't wait.
And that's the great part about Wodapalooza. And this was, I would say, before they almost got like forced into the sanctional position, was the teams of 3 in Wodapalooza. It's a fitness festival. That's what they wanted to bill it as. They wanted it to be fun. They wanted to showcase the athlete, but they wanted to make it as Miami as possible. The lights, the outside, the dancing lady Intercontinental Hotel, and all the things in between. And what you did get to see is that athletes were having so much fun while doing it, but especially on the team side. Bill, I don't know about you, but watching the team competition in the past couple of years with the 3s has actually been more exciting to a certain extent than, say, the individual competition.
It's like, I mean, and I'm not, I mean, I know you guys are like the big comic book clashers and like, you get you and Sean or whatever, but like the Wodapalooza is when you get teams that would never come together in any sort of situation. You have athletes that are like, I'll never do a team. Like they're not a team athlete. They're an indie, but then you have this one-time weekend where you get to see these three, whether it's on the guy's side or on the girl's side or whatever. And it is so fun to watch just to see what they would do. I mean, you mix this little group up over here and see what they do. And the whole time, like we talk to them in and out in between competitions, during the competition, whatever. And whether they're crushing everything or they're not crushing it, you just see athletes smile like you have never seen them smile all the way through. I mean, without trying to blow enough smoke up Wodapalooza's ass right now, like it is the event that all the athletes enjoy to compete in and aren't broken when they come out of it. It's a great barometer. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of hype. You still get great competition. The events are usually, I mean, just really fun to watch and set up really, really well. So, I mean, you talk about one of the best events out there for the athletes. It is that. I think because they don't break everyone off and they get these opportunities. So the fact that they can do either, like I'm really interested now to find out what athletes are going to play both sides of the table, team and individual, or are they just going to go the one? I mean, because it is fun. Like people go out there for more of like a vacation training session. You know what I mean?
And let's be honest. I mean, last year, that battle between the boys, right? Chandler and Noah and Travis against Matt DeLugo's Khan and Newberry. I mean, that was a blast. That stole the show, right? Like, I mean, that was just so cool. And then you had like the Mayhem ladies versus the Oslo, who just, everyone keeps forgetting how good they are. They're the ones who ended up winning, right? So it was like, you get these phenomenal athletes that come together and it's so much fun. And I think it'll be the same this year. And I think you're going to see what's cool because you've got the indies on that Thursday, Friday. You're going to see a lot of the individuals who do both. And it's great for the fans. The fans are going to be able to see them compete individually, see them compete. Thank you. See them compete, together. It's pretty awesome. Yeah. I love it. But yeah, man, I'm stoked, and I love, and obviously kind of segueing into some of the stuff that we're doing. It's a great opportunity to prep, people and to have fun because, during the season, obviously with 2 men and 2 women, it's a little bit different, but now you get the 3, same sex teams. And it's so fun for a lot of these athletes to be able to compete together. We don't get to see it any other competition. And so like, I love the fact that we've done, this where we're now prepping, people to be able to compete at Wodapalooza and it's a cool idea. I really love it.
Let me ask you guys, because I know you guys are both doing, your team stuff as your program for Underdog and whatever. How do you program for individuals that aren't team athletes? That's not what they do. How do you change, or do you change their programming for something like this to go out and have some fun? How do you get them ready, ramp them up to be part of a team when that's not their gig? Like, how different does their programming look when you guys set it up?
You say for Wodapalooza?
Yeah. I mean, it
I
counts, but it doesn't count. But they all want to go out and do their best. I mean, they're athletes. That's what they do.
Yes. So I think, again, for us, like in individual case-by-case basis, I think what's most important is speaking to the athlete and kind of finding out, like, what does this mean to you, right? Is this a situation where you want to go out there and you say to yourself, like, this to me is, if the Super Bowl is here, then this is the NFC Championship. Like, this is still a major event. Like, I want to go out there and we're gonna do a full taper going in. We're gonna give you a week or 2 off coming out. Like, we're really gonna focus on bump up your swimming. We're gonna take a look at the programming and really see, like, over the last few years, what has Wodapalooza done, comparatively to the rest of the season, like what CrossFit does. And I think then you can make some changes and really kind of individualize towards the event. Or in some cases, it's fuck it, I want to go down. I want to have some fun. Don't change my programming at all. Let's focus on this is, all my weaknesses, getting ready for the season, really trying to think of like peaking at, mini peak at semifinals, peaking at the games, etc. So Bill, I think it's kind of on a personal basis, depending on how they view the competition. Right?
Do you not let certain people compete because one person wants it to be the NFC Championship and the other one just wants to go have a vacation?
Yeah.
Sorry, you guys can't go together.
Yeah.
No, so what I'll tell them is, hey, like, you're not going to do individual here, you're going to do team, right? Or you're not going to do team here, you're going to do individual. I think it just depends on the person, and we'll take a look. And really, like, the way I look at it is Wodapalooza really kind of starts the whole season. So the fact that it's in the calendar year, you've got to look at it like, okay, we've got this, then we've got the Open, then we've got quarterfinals, then we've got semifinals, and then ideally the games. And how that affects your training, depending on the part of the season that we're in, or depending on what are your goals for the season. Are you a quarterfinals athlete that's really busting your ass to get to semifinals? Are you a semi athlete that could, break their arm and do quarterfinals with one arm and still qualify? Are you a games Or you're a games athlete that knows, like, hey, unless I go and shit the bed at semifinals, I've got a 90% chance of getting through semis. Like, what type of athlete are you? What are we talking about here? And I think it all plays into the decision that you make, when you look at these outside events, right? Or the events that aren't, quote unquote, part of the CrossFit season. So I think all of those things play into it, and then we'll take a look at it and really kind of change things up depending on what their season looks like.
And a lot to that, to tail off, Justin's talking about, because we actually have been getting to work together, getting teams for underdogs ready for Wodapalooza. We just got through the qualifiers. You guys qualified a shit ton of teams, which is freaking awesome to see that. And now it's shifting gears towards what a Wodapalooza normally is. And, my focus coming from is like, I don't need to take individual games athletes and turn them into team athletes. What I need them to get used to is working together in little certain nuances. And that programming does not need to affect or interfere with their individual programming whatsoever.
100%.
Right? So what Justin has going on with a lot of his individual athletes that are on site, and as well as the individual programming that people can do with underdogs, is that the team programming is an accessory to. It's not its own solid program. So it's not derailing anybody's stuff, but hey, 3 times a week, we're going to do one team workout that ranges from 5 to 20 minutes. And they're practicing things that not necessarily, it's like, okay, at Wodapalooza, there's a lot of weird nuances. And okay, if there's something nuanced, do you need to practice that nuanced thing? Or do you need to practice adjusting to adversity on the fly? Because when it's nuanced or niched, it's not about practicing that thing, but how you adjust to that adversity. And so some of the programming is just designed about, hey, here's a workout. It's going to be really hard. There's no way to really prep for it. And it's just going to teach you guys or girls how to work together on the fly in a workout that there's no way to get around it other than to suffer together. Right. And so, we throw one of those in a week, and it's an addition to, not a subtraction from, is the biggest thing of the team programming at Underdogs.
Is it
absolutely.
Is it a skill type thing, or do you have, because I mean, how it goes. The thing that breaks teams down is lack of communication.
Right.
So are those things testing abilities together, like just timing wise? Or are you making it to where, like, okay, make sure you guys turn up the music really loud when you do this so you can't hear, and so someone has to follow, you have your coxswain over here who's calling whatever. How do you set any of that up in there? Or is it more just like hey, you guys figure it out on the fly? How do you guys manage that?
To me, it's a lot of figured out. I don't need to teach someone to get better at muscle ups. I don't need to get someone any stronger. That's what the individual stuff programming is for with Justin and Underdogs. The team stuff is, how do we work together on synchro things like this? How do we match up a toes to bar hang while someone else is doing some type of movement over there? How do we work together as 3 people doing some type of synchronized movement? How to work with sandbags together? It's all just teaching them how team events unfold on the competition floor. We're not trying to teach someone or program someone to be a better athlete. That's what the individual program is for. That goes with anybody, whatever the individualized programming. What this team programming is designed to be is, as we said before, it's in addition to, it's accessory work, but in a team workout setting, and it's only 3 times a week. And so it's like forcing people into positions they would never be in as individuals with 2 other people.
And what I think is huge about that, and is also like we know, right? Like it's one thing to say, okay, great, like we'll do team programming, but the other thing is, in a lot of cases where we see in competition, it's how do you react when things break down, right? Like we see, it's not a perfect science. Like sometimes, so I think these workouts and this program is going to put them in situations that they're like, oh, okay, well, we're going to do this rep scheme, we're going to do this. Well, that sounds great, but now let's see what actually happens when you get in the fire, right? And if it breaks down, how do you react? Now, who's going to cover this side? Who's going to do this? Who's going to do that? And you're getting more and more experience as a team, right? When the shit hits the fan, which ultimately at the end of the day in competition is such a huge factor, especially when this is a special event. A lot of these people are coming together for the first time. They might not necessarily be together the entire year. So what's really cool is they're getting a couple of months of prep work where they can try to avoid, right, the catastrophe that happens in an event or can happen in an event with a team. And what I love about it too is like Chase said, is it's not really affecting your weekly program, right? Like you're able to throw this in, you could do a couple of these as Metcons, just sub them in and as Metcons during the week in whatever programming that you're doing. And it's just going to prep you that much better to succeed as a team. And we've also, made the price point really, really low for people so that they, this is not something that's going to break the bank. It's something that's really, it's a kind of a scenario, kind of takes the guesswork out of it for you, where you're like, okay, what should we do as a team? Well, yeah. Here you go. Here are workouts that you can do, that are coming, from the minds of people that are experienced, have seen the programming over the years and kind of have an idea of what might come up. And I think for people, it's just a wonderful addition for them to be able to prep themselves for like what we've talked about, one of the coolest events that we do in the CrossFit space during the year, so it's just a really cool addition.
How I want to know how someone like Carrie Pierce is handling doing some team training stuff. Yeah, I mean, you've seen it.
Man,
so give me some real life. Give me some real life of these individual athletes having to play team with people, playing the same sandbox.
Yeah.
How's it turn out?
Yeah. So what I love about it is getting the groups together. So we're gonna get like Ariel come out here, and so that Alex and she and Carrie can kind of do it all together. But what we see is we've got a couple of girls in here. We have a really solid team with Allie Scuds, Scuds Buds, and Christine Best.
Oh yes.
Yeah. I love it. So they're. The name of it is cool. It's Best Buds and Scuds. So those are the names of the girls, right? But yeah, man, it's like what I love is like you see some of these athletes that aren't used to doing it, and what I love is like putting that stuff in there and having them, have to get after it, have to work together as a team. I love seeing like Carrie and Alex do synchro work together, and it's what I. The coolest thing, and you guys know this, is you're now accountable to somebody else. So seeing that person be accountable to their teammate, it's just awesome. Like I think it ramps things up another level, man. Like you go to the next level, and now I think in a lot of ways it's fun because it gets them out of their comfort zone. And now like you stretch yourself because you're accountable to somebody else. And I think that's great for any athlete. I think we can all say like, there's a lot of times that people get in their gym, they get in their comfort zone. They're used to doing things the way they like to do them. They're used to breaking up things the way they like to break them up. And this is a way to get out of your comfort zone. And whether you do team during the season or not, I think it's a great experience to be taken out of that comfort zone. Like Carrie Pierce is going to stretch you. You know what I mean? Like you're going to have to do 5 more reps than you want to do. I mean, let's be honest, right? And I think that's the case in a lot of ways. Like, you put yourself in that position with somebody who's going to make you do something that, hey, fuck, like I didn't know I could even do that. And they now like now I've been proven that I can really do this. So I think in a lot of ways, it's a great opportunity to be able to get yourself out of the comfort zone. And we see that with our athletes, and we'll do that more and more as we lead up to Wodapalooza, where we say, hey, okay, this is what you're doing today. You're jumping on this workout that Chase put together and you had no idea that it was happening. And like, I won't even put it in their programming like it's on True Coach. Like, I'll just say, nope, this is a change. This is what you're doing. Grab this, grab your partner, grab your teammate. Here we go. We're doing this. And I think that that's a wonderful way for people to prep themselves, as we get closer and closer. And we got 2 months. So there's a great opportunity still to get ready for it and to get better and better at team programming, especially, as we lead up to Wodapalooza.
Bill, and you've seen it before, is that teams that aren't successful are rarely less fit than the team that beat them, especially when you have multiple individuals. And it's all coming down. I mean, how often do we say communication, teamwork, nonverbal cues, all those types of things? And when you look at programming, especially in a training side, is that you have to put the athletes in position where they have options to choose what to do. And what I mean by that is something as simple as, okay, how do you make a workout that has just bulk work? 250 of this, 250 of that, 250 of that. Are you supposed to tell everyone to do 15? Because we've seen that structured in the past. Mm-hmm. That doesn't help teams communicate together.
Right.
All right, we're all doing sets of 15, and then we're just going to see who beats the other team. It's like, no, here's 250. Here's another 250 and another 250. Do it however you want, as fast as you can. That teaches people how to communicate. That teaches people how to know where they're at physically, because Carrie might be in there and say it's toes to bar and she's doing 50 right off the bat. And then the next athlete comes in is like, listen, I'm good for like 25. So you guys got to figure out how to game plan this when we come back around, right? As opposed to just giving anyone designated reps. And the way this programming is designed is that it's not going to break you off, but it's going to teach you so many different nuances about yourself, about your teammates. Maybe I could stretch more than I thought because I was allowed to, as opposed to just getting pigeonholed with a rep scheme or a you go, I go format that's already dictated for us. There's so much freedom of choice in this programming that it makes people learn how to talk to each other and listen to their bodies and communicate that in the middle of a workout.
All right. So I got two things now, because I think if I was someone that was wanting to go that route, to hop into that style of training, one, when you're putting these together, is it set up that your team has to be all there together to do it? Or do you have to have sub-ins to do it like it's a 3-person or a 4-person or whatever? It has to be a group thing. Is that correct?
Yeah. The way it's set up now is that the most optimum way to do the training.
I mean, obviously it would be optimum. I'm just asking.
Yeah. It's designed where your 3 athletes will be in the same spot at the same time.
Okay. And then when you say, I think it's great that you say that you are given opportunities to learn how to do whatever. When you say opportunities to learn like that, like, does that mean you have pitfalls that are built into it, or you have options of trying it, or it's like, okay, here's your 250, 250, 250. Come up with one option now, because next week you have to come up with another option to try it. Like, how are you making them learn with the programming? What sets up situations for them to learn those pitfalls before they get on the competition floor?
So a lot of that in the very beginning is just giving them the rep options. But the biggest tool that we have that I love, and I'm sure team athletes hate, is this protocol we call team forging. And Justin's laughing because he saw a couple of these. And the team forging ones are purely tests to stretch the team together in a way that you normally wouldn't do in a program. So for example, and this is just a horrible example, is that we had a mile sandbag bear hug carry for the team. And that was it. And it was, if the bag dropped, there was bag. Yeah, exactly. Right. If the bag dropped, there was no penalty. No one was getting in trouble for dropping the bag, but it came down to how long do you think you can carry? How long do you think you should carry? And then what are the other 2 athletes doing as far as who they think should be next? Because it's not always 1, 2, 3. Right? Because it could be all 3 of us. Like, yep, we're going to go in order. Chase, Bill, Justin. And then after 3 rounds, I'm like, guys, my back is blowing up. I need like 5 minutes. And so you put these athletes in situations that are not ridiculous, but in situations where they have no choice but to really learn from each other while learning about themselves. And it's just little things like that. But our team forging, it's once a week. It's one of the 3 every week, is something out there that is like, you would never watch this. Like, these aren't meant to be like really fun, watchable events.
I don't know. We did that one time when they did a swim event around. Remember they had them all on the floating thing and they had to kick them around.
You mean the old
We did watch that.
Yeah.
We did. That wasn't a good one to watch.
Not a good one to watch, right? And a lot of this programming is like, oh, we'll just take that individual thing and we'll make everybody do it one time, or we'll do a relay. Everybody that does a round of Diane, and then a round of Jackie, and then a round of Fran. Like, you can do those things, but what would be better? It's like, okay, we're going to do, I think we had this program the other day. It was like 800-meter run. You're going to do Fran as a team, but it's like bulk work. You're going to go 135 thrusters and 135 pull-ups. And you're going to run again. You're going to go 135 deadlifts and 135 handstand push-ups. You're going to run again. And then everyone is going to do like 3,000-meter row, something like that, where it's so simple on paper, yet what it does to the athletes as far as have them learn about each other. Again, not to do events that we've seen before. You don't need to practice events you've seen before other than just like working on transitions or something like that. But to put athletes in positions that they would have never normally been in an individual setting, to learn from each other. And that's the idea with this programming. So it's super simple on paper, but the nuance in that's nice. The practice that I've seen in play for over 10, 12 years of doing team coaching and programming, like this is broadcasting, is it's the things that they learn from what is programmed, not necessarily what is programmed. Everybody can do burpees and pull-ups and deadlifts. That's not the trick. It's what they're getting out of the way those things are put together to put them in situations that make them better teammates, not better athletes.
The best SEAL teams aren't the best athletes. They're the best teams.
Oh, dude, I just read that in the culture code, actually.
Yeah.
And it was like, you hand a team a 6 or 10-foot wood log between 6 people. And the teams, like you said, it like, what's sexy about doing 100 sit-ups with a telephone pole or holding it over your head for 5 minutes or carrying it? It's like, there's nothing. But what it is it forges a team unit together by learning what their personal impact is. It's not what they learn from other people, what their personal impact is on the rest of the team. Man, when I take a break here, everyone suffers. I got to not do that. Right. Or when it happens there. That's the, I'm not saying we're going to program some, Navy SEAL rubber boats and telephone workouts, but
we'll get ready.
The idea behind it is to,
hey, listen, if it's in the gym, we're going that way. Trust me.
Yeah. The idea behind it is exactly what you said, Bill. Force these athletes to be in situations they never get in on their own. In a way, you don't test as a competition. It's a way you forge as a team during training. That's the idea.
I love it. I love it.
Pretty awesome, man. And I, for me and for our athletes, and I think for any of the teams, that are planning on getting together out there, I think what Chase brings up about, the more you can learn about yourself and about your teammates, the more successful you're going to be. If you understand what your tendencies are, what your teammates, it's almost like what's going to happen before it happens, right? I mean, that's the thing with the best teams that we see out there, is the fact that like they can avoid, the negative shit that happens because they basically they know each other so well as athletes. And I think a lot of the workouts put them in positions to be able to really understand, okay, like this is coming up. Well, I know how I'm going to do here. And now I've seen how, X person's going to do and how this person's going to do. And so without question, I think, the more that you can learn as a team, and you're putting yourself in these positions. And I think it just makes you a better athlete in general, because you're constantly being put in positions to gain more knowledge, right? To gain more information, which I think as athletes is part of a huge part of the process, is really understanding what you can do and what you can't do. And if you can't do it, then how do we figure out a way to get through that? Or how do we figure out a way to get through that as a team? Because inevitably there's going to be strengths and weaknesses. Not everyone is going to be good at the same stuff. So how do we manipulate and maneuver to be able to be successful, utilizing people's strengths and minimizing their weaknesses? So it's I think the program really, really does a great job of that. And I don't think there's any question that, people will be successful if they if they do it, going in. I think they'll be better off doing it than not doing it. So, I think it's something, it's been a great addition to what we're doing. And, I'd love to see more and more people jump on, because I think it'll be a huge advantage going into Miami.
It's awesome.
And the thing I love about most of this is that, we're talking about 3-person teams. This is fun. This would be fun to do on a weekend with your buddies, just kicking it back and having fun on the weekend. But the other thing is, and I think we see this from team athletes now who are prospective individual athletes, is that we've said so much about this programming really gives you a better insight of who you are as an athlete and where your breaking point is and how far you can stretch yourself. The knowledge you learn from your own personal journey in a team competition, I think, has unmatched value for your own individual performance down the road. What I think maybe Annie learned over the last season going team can only benefit her if she decided to go individual again. And Sam Cornier with Mayhem, all those type of athletes that we've seen, is what they can do from an individual perspective for teammates. Now take that knowledge and understanding and confidence, what they can do for themselves in live competition.
I think the situational awareness that you get out of that, because you have to perform, but you have to be very aware of what's going on with all your people. So even though you transfer from a team situation where you have to have your feelers and know where you got to be able to read everybody, whether you're looking at them or not. Now, as an athlete, an individual athlete, you need to be able to perform, read yourself, but also know what's going on. You got to know what your judge is doing and how they're reacting. You have to know where everyone else is on the floor. You have to be able to look up at the big jumbotron to see where certain people are, or be able to listen to what the MC is saying, who's up ahead, how many reps are they ahead, and you're constantly assessing all of these things, which is what you do if you're on a team. Yeah, it's a little bit more slowed down, and there may be moments where you can stop and visually assess what's happening, but you start really stretching out those antennas to really know your area as you're competing, whether it's on a team or individual. So you're right. I think that skill, there's no way you can say it wouldn't be valuable, to have that situational awareness is always a positive thing to have anyway. So I dig that. That's awesome.
Yeah. And I take a look, like a real world experience for like an athlete. Again, I'm going to use Alex as an example. She's one of our youngest athletes, right? She just turned 21 years old, which is, crazy. And she finished top 25 at the games this past year. But like for her, she hasn't done team stuff before. She's just individual. And I think, exactly what you just talked about, Bill, with the idea of being able to, watch somebody like a Carey in that experience, watch someone like Ariel Lowen in that experience. Now usually you're shut off, you're focused on what you're doing individually. You kind of have blinders on, it's you against the workout. But now, you've got to be aware of what your partners are doing. You got to be aware of what your team is doing. But I think it also, now you take a look at that and be like, oh shit, like I didn't think about doing whatever it was that way. Now I'm looking at, I'm really focused on being able to see somebody do something in a different way. And it adds to your repertoire, right? It continues to help you build. So I think it's huge value for people, whether they're planning on being a quote unquote team athlete or whether they have, individual aspirations. I think it's a phenomenal experience to be able to, to kind of add to your programming and to, add to your value as an athlete. I think it's a big value add.
I love it. I'm so excited to see what these athletes do. Now, you talked earlier in the show, before we close things out, things you look forward to. When you got, as Bill was kind of saying, a couple of these, superhero teams coming together with a little bit of underdogs flag over the top of them. And is there a little, camp to camp coaching out there? Is eyeball across the competition
I
floor?
think so.
Looks like we got that one.
Listen, I don't think, you get to where we're at, in this sport without a sense of, competitiveness. Like you want to win no matter what you do. And the way I look at it is, hey, like, it's definitely friendly competition, but at the same time, like, we got our guys going, we want to win, like there's no doubt in my mind, like I love, and I'm great friends with a lot of the guys from the other camps, but there's no doubt that like, Shane wants to kick my ass and I want to kick Shane's ass. Right? Like that's going to happen. I don't see there's no doubt about that. Like there's going to be points where like, and I think obviously we want to see everybody do well, but there's no doubt like, I want to see our underdogs teams win, and there's extra motivation out there when you see, some of the super teams that are being put together. Like, hell yeah, we want to win. No doubt about it, So I'm stoked about it. I love seeing all these teams coming out, and you're like, holy shit, that's going to be a good team. Oh my God, that's going to be a good team. And I think in every division, we have a couple of teams that qualified in the RX division, a couple of teams that qualified, and there's definitely a lot of pride, when we go down there, and we're gonna do our best to try to make sure that all of our teams and all of our athletes are as successful as possible. Yeah, for sure.
Well, that's awesome, and I think that's the most fun part about Wodapalooza is that it's not serious, but it's still for real. And I think if you're not having that kind of fun out there, I mean, really, what's the point going out there like that? That's the best thing about sports. Is the thing I love the most about teams is, I don't trust a lot of people who never played team sports on just like a person-to-person basis, like at least some type of competitive environment where you are held accountable for your own actions. I think speaks volumes to how these people grow up as human beings. But Justin, I'm super excited about this. Obviously, I'm really pumped about. Oh, Bruce, thank you for showing up right before we were signing off. But
hi, bye, hi, bye.
I'm pumped to just even be a small part of this journey with you guys over there at Underdogs, and it's been really cool, and obviously something we've been talking about for a while. And on a selfish level, I was like, I can't wait to see how things unfold there in Miami come January. So I'm super pumped. And obviously, your time here and spending it with us is always a treat. So thank you.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I always have a blast with you guys. So anytime you want me, just give me a ring and I'll be here. So I appreciate what you guys do, and Chase, obviously, with the program, it's incredible, and we're honored to have you as a part of it. And, it's something, like I said, I just think is such a cool value add for everybody. Like we said, if anybody is interested, please, they can just go to underdogsathletics.com, or they can hit us up on IG and we can give them information. I hope, that people are enjoying it. I know they will. And we're here to try to help people be as successful as possible. And it's awesome to just, continue to help the community. So, I appreciate you guys having me on. I love talking about it. I love shooting shit about anything with you guys. So thanks again for having me on.
Awesome. Anytime. And I can't wait to, maybe recap some of this over the coming months once you get into that season coming in quick. Well, Bill, damn good to see you, sir. It's been a while. Good to see everybody in the chat. And, as always, it's always a treat to have Mr. Cotler on with us. I spared you without playing your intro music. I didn't want to. We go live on YouTube now, and I didn't want to get a copyright strike for playing your sweet jams over the internet. All right, you guys. Thanks for joining us so much. Yes, the Pierce, Low, and Gazan forming is already up. Look at that barbell spin.
Boom, dude! Those guys are on fire. Fire
all over it. Breaking news.
Don't sneeze, or barbell spin's gonna put it up, dude. It'll happen. It's that fast. Holy shit!
And breaking some of the best news on this show. I mean, you broke the underdogs with us. That was really special. But yeah, always love having you on. Thank you guys for joining us, Bill. Man, we got a 3 for this week.
We got a big week, you guys. You guys better be here. You better be here.
Better be here. We'll see you guys live tomorrow on YouTube as we. What are we looking at? Masters Fitness Collective?
Yeah, we're talking about Masters programming.
Programming. Masters programming. All right, team. Thank you so much for joining us. See you tomorrow.
Bye, guys.